I want to make it clear that it's possible in this day and age of cancel culture to still wear a critical thinking cap, think for yourself, listen to the opinions from all sides, and draw your own conclusions. What's up, everyone? Today we are going to talk about Kanye West. And I know that this video might seem late to the game. The reality is I had not planned to make a video, but then I started digging for what it was that Kanye actually did and how we ended up in this situation where he has been canceled by everyone that he has been affiliated with, for organizations that he has generated billions of dollars for. And I wanted to understand the truth behind this, and I couldn't find it. There are a lot of YouTube videos on this, and they are all very cookie cutter, generic, and predictable. They're all talking about primarily the Adidas partnership and the cancellation and how that's gonna mean $250 million in lost revenue to Adidas for Q4. And I feel like we can do better than this. So I started a journey of due diligence, as it were. If you know this channel, you're familiar with the hot talks, you're familiar with the fascination with people like Mariana Van Zeller, who like to dig into the underworld and understand how it ticks without necessarily applying judgment. And the journey has been fascinating, and I wanted to share that with you here. Now, first and foremost, there are things that Kanye has said that are highly inflammatory. I'm not interested in taking this video into the gutter, but I am interested in providing a perspective that I don't think you will find anywhere else. Now, as part of my journey down this rabbit hole, I Googled what did Kanye actually say, and I found a Reddit thread, and it actually had a very reasonable, thought-provoking response. I'm not gonna read it in detail again. I don't want to state the inflammatory contents in this video, but it compelled me to dig deeper and to try to understand what Kanye's high-level message that was received so poorly was actually about underneath the surface. And that's what led me to the Lex Fridman interview, 2.5 hours of Kanye and Lex going at it. And this is the thing about sort of my past. I love to play devil's advocate. I love to challenge the common school of thought. Even if I don't necessarily believe in a minority opinion, I like to put the cap on, try it out, and see where it leads. And this is one of those instances where Kanye West has had a unbelievably storied, successful career. He has been at the top of the music industry. He has been at the top of the fashion industry. He is someone that many of us could only dream of living a day in the life of. And so coming into this, wearing that cap, I have to think that there's the possibility, at least, that there is value in this person's school of thought. He ended up here after his long, illustrious career, and something drove him to this point. I liken it to the crazy coupon lady. If you've ever seen the crazy coupon lady in the store arguing with the store clerk over all of the coupon discounts that they're entitled to because they did the homework, they've done the math, and they're here, and they're not gonna let you push them around or take this some other direction. Kanye West is kind of like the crazy coupon lady. He has lived a life that, because none of us can relate to, we can't necessarily immediately put ourselves in a position to appreciate where he's coming from. So rather than immediately jumping to conclusions, I decided to try to listen to what he had to say, be empathetic, and see if there is any actual substance there. The whole reaction to this is very interesting in this age of what I will call cancel culture. It's not that I would disagree with the idea that people need to be more accepting and open, and as a progressive society, we need to keep moving in that direction. But the idea of silencing someone who has a differing opinion from you is not something that I agree with. And Kanye has served his punishment. He has been canceled out of all of the business transactions that have taken him a lifetime to build. In the world of business, that's just, it is what it is. But an element of this just doesn't sit right that is so predictable, which is cancel culture forced Adidas to take action. And in the press release, Adidas has to make sure they spell out that the patents are theirs, the rights to sell the design of the shoes are theirs, and they're gonna lose $250 million this quarter. So it's no longer about what Kanye said or what he actually believes. It's about them getting canceled, and instead of taking the unknown penalty of the public backlash, taking the known penalty of the $250 million, and then, very predictably, just a handful of days later, acknowledging that their plan going forward is to continue to sell these products without the Yeezy branding to minimize the impact on their revenue stream. There's something very predictable, sad, and hypocritical about that. If you want to take a stand, take an actual stand for the principle of it. But they're a corporation. They're run by shareholders who only care about the profit, and that's what they're in business for. I can't fault them for it, but I don't fall for this idea that they stand for a higher purpose. They're not companies like Patagonia that are built on this from the ground up and that have a leg to stand on. Meanwhile, Kanye, who has been canceled for saying things that are very inflammatory, has a refreshing element of honesty and truth and integrity in that he's not going to change his opinion, what he says or thinks, because of the money. And as a creator, he's already talking about how he's basically going to go out and do this again without people who have split ways with him, like Balenciaga, and in the future, they're going to become irrelevant. I don't know that I could disagree with that. So I want to make it clear that it's possible in this day and age of cancel culture to still wear a critical thinking cap, think for yourself, listen to the opinions from all sides, and draw your own conclusions. In this case, I wanted to see in this interview if there was anything that Kanye said that, despite the messenger, despite how people feel about him in society at this particular point in time, was compelling enough, interesting enough, thought-provoking enough to bring forward here, to present to you, to take the good that comes along with all of the bad. So, this is what I've got from my notes. Kanye started with the idea that the only thing that should be taught in school is engineering and recess. He made a point here that history is written by the victors, and as a black man, I can't disagree with him. There is a very valid point here that when you're growing up, when I grew up, without knowing any better, I thought history as it was written was completely factual. And now that I'm much older, I can appreciate that it's not. That there is an element of subjectivity to this, and that's part of why we've shied away from things like Columbus Day. We collectively as a society have learned, and I think this is touching on that point. He continues his big talking piece that he keeps circling back to. You are a human being with engineering challenges / opportunities before you. He refined this sentence, and in the end, you are a human being with engineering opportunities before you. This is a really interesting one because I am an engineer by trade. I am very optimistic. I like to try to see the positive in things. And as a fundamental human principle, like in engineering, there's a fundamental principle of high cohesion and low coupling. And if you remember that principle and you apply it throughout, it will guide you very well. You will design, implement, and execute on very elegant software with the simple principles of high cohesion and low coupling in mind. And here, just so fundamentally, right at the start, lays out something that could be just a basic, if you want to succeed in life, human principle. You are a human being with engineering opportunities before you. Human being, we're all equal. We're all in this together. We don't need to focus on the differences, we should focus on the similarities. If we destroy this earth, we're all gonna sink with the ship. Opportunities. Why are you here? What do you wanna do with yourself? Every day is a new day to do something that brings you pleasure, enjoyment, and benefits society. And if you can find that alignment, you have uncovered the secret of having a happy, successful, enjoyable life where you can make an impact and leave a legacy. And he's covered all of that in a very simple sentence. The guy is full of himself. He talked about how he was the 5th best writer in the world and now he's the 4th, having come up with this. But I gotta say, that's a pretty awesome singular sentence to drive a life purpose. About 10 minutes into the interview, he talked about how where he's at now and what he's facing really isn't a big deal because they could have killed him when he said George Bush doesn't care about black people. They could have killed him when he said Beyonce has the best video of all time. But he's still here, he's still alive, and he's still doing what he does. And there is an element of hypocrisy. I don't know if you could say it's crossing a line, but he's offended very many people, very many different ways in the past. So what is it this time that put him over the threshold? Well, we know what it is, and honestly, if you listen to him, it is difficult to stomach, and that's part of why Lex, being in the position he was in to really try to swing Kanye around and get him to see different perspectives as opposed to just lashing out, canceling him, or kicking him off of the interview was so impressive. Again, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right here, so let's press on with other interesting things he had to say. High level observation, there is a level of abstractness to his conversations that sees things at a higher level. And it's kind of interesting because for people that might have a hard time following along, in many ways I didn't. When I tell a story, I oftentimes go on tangents to attempt to build a bigger picture in play. And I could see him doing that a lot throughout this interview. I also tend to view time very agnostically, as sort of, I'm here, I want to get there, I need to know the steps, and eventually I'll be there. He can see things at a level where he sees all of humanity, he sees his place in it right now and the impact he can have, and really that's the sort of thing that true visionaries need to be able to have accomplished what they've accomplished. I thought it was really interesting. He said that being with family is heaven on earth. This is a really interesting one to me because my mom is very religious, and a lot of religious people in my family, as they've gotten older especially, always talk about praying to get to heaven. Whether there is a heaven or hell, I believe that being here and now, being present in this moment, you can build heaven on earth. You can construct what you want here on earth that brings you joy, brings your family joy, and there's value in focusing on that here and now, not just always looking towards the future. 18 minutes in, he brought up how McDonald's makes food that kills people, how Coca-Cola makes sugar water. And then he said, in case he hasn't pissed off enough people, but you know what? he's not wrong. Don't be afraid to state the facts. You have to say it out loud. I think that's part of what I'm doing right here and part of what I felt before I made this video, and that really resonated when I heard him say it. A lot of times, it's easy to just go along with what the greater society is doing. Oh, Kanye said something inflammatory. Adidas dropped him. Balenciaga dropped him. Must be bad. Well, let's look at what that means economically. Why is that such a first instinct for us? To care what Adidas makes or loses as a result of what Kanye said in canceling this partnership? Is that somehow fundamental to the real story that's in play here? Nobody is saying this out loud. I haven't seen anybody say this out loud. Adidas only cares about the money. We all can see it, so why are we pretending like they're a woke company that really cares about what Kanye had to say and doesn't just care about the bottom line? If they really didn't care about the bottom line, the patents would not matter, the rebranding of the products that are released would not matter. If they wanted to take a stand and make a statement against Kanye West, they would not sell his products in any way, form, or fashion going forward. And we all know that's not gonna happen, and I just said it out loud. They have criminalized free thought. I don't know whether it's criminalized, but it's certainly not in vogue these days. When you let someone in your life and you know you shouldn't, and then they do what you expect, don't be mad at them, be mad at you. This is so core to the way that I interact with people. I can be friendly with everybody. I am only close to a few. And if I see any sort of a knife behind your back ready to come at me, I will cut you out cold turkey. I do not need negative energy in my life. I do not need to watch my back from my close friends. Not about it at all. So if I were to let you in, knowing that you're the type of person that would stab me in the back, and then you stab me in the back, it's not on you, it's on me. Don't even know how that came up, but man, I could really relate to it when he said it. He loves having a healthy conversation. I do too. An overall point of his is that Black people have to deal with atrocities on a crazy scale, and people in general seem numb to it. They don't elevate these issues to a level of concern that is fitting of them or rises to what has been done for other cultures. I can't say I disagree. There probably is some truth in that. He as a messenger may have conveyed his message poorly, but his message is still valid. Possibly. That's part of what I'm trying to explore here. And I do think there is an element of truth to that, at least generically, that Black people are exploited in certain industries, in the music industry, in the sports industry. One of the things that Lex tried to point out, and that I very much agree with, is that while these exploits are happening, it's not about the gender, race, ethnicity of the person doing the exploiting. It's about the actual person doing the exploiting. So if you have an issue, say the names, put them on blast, deal with it that way. I wholeheartedly agree and buy into that. It's important to give people a voice. A voice deserves to be heard, and we should ask why. That's actually why I listened to this whole interview. I wanted to understand the why. And in the end, do I think Kanye is crazy? I'm trying not to judge. Do I think he's mentally ill? Is he off his meds? He openly admitted that he was diagnosed as bipolar and he's not taking any medication. As someone who has explored in my own head many different thoughts and avenues imagining into the future, I can kind of see where Kanye is coming from. I don't feel the need to throw anyone, culture, ethnicity, gender, people under the bus unnecessarily, but I haven't personally been wronged. He made an analogy, and I don't know if it's fitting, but at least this is where his thought process is coming from in his head. A female girl who's 14 years old who is exploited by men for 4 years. Various men over and over and over. And by the time she's 18, she says, "I hate men." He tried to liken this to how he was exploited in the music and fashion industry by a certain group of people. Is it valid? I honestly don't know. I don't know the facts on the ground, but I can understand to his own mind what he thinks is going on here. And if I wear that context, I can appreciate what he has to say without taking it all in as factual truth that I need to suddenly believe. I can openly acknowledge and admit he's a biased actor, and I can try to adjust for that in my assessment of things. But what I don't need to do, and what I think would be a disservice to society to do, would be to just cancel him outright, write him off, pretend this never happened, and don't even try to dig deeper. Because this process for me was really thought-provoking, interesting, and insightful, and I think I am better for it, and hopefully you are too. So I don't know if this is too much rambling, I don't know how long this video is, but this is the type of thing that I absolutely love to do among friends. It's the type of thing that I've always wanted to bring forward to this channel. And so if you find this interesting, compelling, drop a comment about what you think. Let's engage. And if you're so inclined, please subscribe to the channel and we can do more of this going forward. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you at the next one.